Hello, my name is Paduri, and this is my investment analysis on American Tower Corporation. So first of all, a company overview of American Tower Corporation. American Tower Corporation is a real estate investment trust, or REIT, that specializes in communication infrastructure. What this basically means is that they own a lot of communications towers that they lease out to carriers like Verizon or AT&T, which use those as part of their carrier network. And that's their business model. There's currently American Tower Corporation has over 200,000 communication towers worldwide and 42,000 in the US alone. They're also a Fortune 500 company being ranked number 363 on the Fortune 500 list. Two growth factors are first of all, their increased focus on international growth, and second of all, their recent consolidation of other large real estate investment trusts to expand their business. Now, moving on to my investment thesis. I would recommend the best way to make a profit off this stock is to short the stock with a target price of $202, which is the 8.1% decrease from the current price as of April 2nd, 2025, which is $217.90. There's three reasons for this. The first reason is increased international competition. The second reason is the lack of regulation of the industry, and the third reason is climate disasters. All three of these things I will be talking about later in this presentation. First of all, moving on to the industry and company analysis. The communication tower REIT market has a forecasted to grow at a compound annual growth rate domestically of 4.6%, but a CAGR of 12.5% internationally from 2021 to 2026. However, looking only domestically, American Tower Corporation is the largest tower REIT in the U.S. with a market share of 43.2%. The two next biggest ones are Crown Castle and SBA Communications, but these two don't expand or more very focused mostly on domestic REIT towers and on domestic towers, not on international towers. But however, American Tower does have international competitors, one of them being Data Infrastructure Trust in India, which American Tower recently just sold 70,000 towers to in India because American Tower couldn't handle maintaining those towers. There's also a lack of regulation in this industry because of the nature of this industry and how new this industry is and how small this industry is compared to other bigger tech industries that need more regulation. Now let's look at some of the revenue drivers of American Tower Corporation. The first revenue driver is their global expansion of their network. Currently, as of 2025, they have 225,000 sites across 25 countries. They also are acquiring a large amount of companies and are in a large amount of acquisitions. The most recent of these being Telxius Towers in 2021. Also, as we can see on the top right graph on the slide, the average lease price of these communication towers is increasing. As in the last 10 years, it's increased by almost $700, which increases revenue for American Tower Corporation and other cell tower REITs. There are also another revenue driver is the current deployment of 5G pushed by cell carriers. As cell carriers are pushing these companies to build more communications towers, build more 5G specific communication towers, which increase their revenue. However, we can see that there's been a decreased growth in revenue over the last 10 years. In 2016, the revenue annual growth was 21.2%. However, in 2026, the expected growth is only 3.8%. These can be attributed to two reasons. As I said before, increased international competition from REITs all around the world and climate disasters that can hurt revenue. Moving on to the financial analysis. Currently, our American Tower Corporation is very profitable, has very strong margins. Their EBITDA margins are all above 60%. However, these margins are bound to go down because they're being pressured due to carrier consolidation. A large amount of carriers are working together to bring prices down, which hurt American Tower Corporations and other tower REITs. The American Tower Corporation has also been growing the last 10 years. Their revenue has been growing approximately 7.3% in the last decade on average, which I talked about in the last slide. However, as I said before, increased competition internationally will make this revenue slow down, because the projected revenue growth in 2026 is only around 3.8%. Now let's look at the valuation analysis. My EBITDA calculation shown on the right yielded a result of $202 of equity value per share. Which is the target value that I brought up in my short. However, My discount cash flow model also, which was built in Python, yielded an intrinsic value per share of $199.90, which shows that this stock is clearly overvalued right now and is bound to go down, which is why a short is the best possible opportunity. Now let's look at American Tower Corporation's competitive positioning. Let's look at, first of all, let's start off with a moat analysis, and which they have a wide moat. We can see this for three reasons. First of all, they have long-term contracts. They used to have long-term contracts. American Tower Corporation used to have contracts between cell carriers that lasted between 5 and 10 years, which was very good for AMT because it led to a lot of stability for the company, and there wasn't much volatility in the stock during that time period. However, because there's a lot more competition, these cell carriers have a lot more people to choose from, which means they're going for more short-term contracts that are more cheaper and are worse for the companies because first of all they're losing more money because these contracts are cheaper, and the contract length is just less, so which just means less stability and more volatility in the market. American Tower Corporation also has a lot of strategic tower locations due to their large business nature, because they can get a lot of zoning laws in their favor. However, because of the lack of regulation and unfair competition from other international businesses, especially in developing countries, these zoning laws aren't really followed, and this advantage isn't really an advantage for American Tower Corporation, but really a disadvantage. But however, another advantage is that they have economies of scale. Because American Tower Corporation is such a big company, they can really negotiate the prices, and they can really negotiate the prices for themselves as they own so many communications towers. However, as I said before, this opportunity is going away because these carriers are consolidating with each other, which is hurting the opportunity of American Tower Corporation to negotiate to negotiate, which means they're getting worse prices, which means their revenue is going to go down, which means their stock price is also sure to go down. Now, looking at Porter's 5 forces, we can see that the biggest threat to American Tower Corporation right now, which is a significant threat, is international competition, and the next biggest threat is the customers like negotiating, like Verizon and AT&T. Yeah, as I said before, these are the two biggest issues and two biggest threats to American Tower Corporation right now. The suppliers and new entrants, they're not very good. They're not very high threats because most like American Tower Corporations, their suppliers are themselves, and there's not very new entrants into the market because it's such a hard market to break into. Now let's look at the investment risks. First of all, there's potential for strategic acquisitions by AMT, which would increase the stock price. The second one is that AMT has a very strong dividend growth history, as shown on the right graph, and this correlates with an increase in the stock. Another risk is the short squeeze risk, is that when a lot of people short a stock, that all those transactions will actually make the stock go up, which means all those people that short the stock have to sell the stock because all those people that short the stock have to sell the stock because those stocks are borrowed, and that will lead to a lot of lost money for everyone that would short the stock if that were to happen. There's also REIT tax advantages, which is a risk because that would make the stock go up, but these do vary country by country. For example, the US, these companies do get a very large tax break, but that's not the case in many other developing countries. Now let's move on to management and governance. There's a new CEO. As of February 2024, Stephen Vonrad succeeded Tom Bartlett as president and CEO of AMT. He's still committed to the core objectives of expanding internationally and they're strengthening their role in 5G. So the company really hasn't changed since this CEO change. Something else to mention is that more than 50% of the shareholders in this company are large institutions like Vanguard. Now moving on to the ESG considerations. With an ESG ranking of 94, AMT is in the 94th percentile in a pool of 40,000 companies. Environmentally speaking, they've promised to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions and produce more renewable energy. Societal speaking, they've promised to plant more trees and protect bird nests to help society. And corporate governance speaking, they've published sustainability reports to increase transparency and take accountability for the mistakes, and they have diversity and inclusion. Now, looking on how AI affects AMT, AI will actually not have a very large effect on American Tower Corporation because of the nature of the business and the nature of it being a real estate business, which is a market that won't be affected by AI because of the skills needed to succeed in the real estate business. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my report.